Welcome back, everyone. I hope you guys are still awake because we got lots more Academy action coming right back at you. Honestly, as we look through this one, is a little bit slower than a lot of us were expecting, and a lot of that started off in the draft from what we were seeing between Team Liquid and Cloud9. I know, Cubby, you particularly had a couple thoughts about how Team Liquid and Cloud9 were actually going at it in this first game.
Yeah, so coming into this first game, neither jungler has played Viego in the playoffs, let alone this split. And I think that TL kind of had a gambit that they were playing up against C9, as Viego has been one of the highest priority picks we've had across all levels of play throughout all regions that we have at the moment in just League of Legends as a whole. It's not been a high priority, though, for either of these teams, and by giving up the Viego, taking the Trundle, something that Armeo is very comfortable on, they were able to build a comp around Aphelios, another pick that's been very important for C9 and their success they've had in this playoff run. And C9's responses weren't exactly there for me. Taking away the Camille and the Kennen, that tells me that you're setting up for a Gnar pick. The GP deterred that for C9. And the Cassiopeia Nautilus into Aphelios, this is an old school counter that we've seen against Aphelios when he first came out, being able to land the dredge line with the ground with the knockup from Nautilus and just CC Aphelios and one-shot him. But because of the peel, because of the tools that TL were able to build around that Aphelios, C9 were never able to execute a strategy like that. They fell behind early, and TL just scaled in their comfort zone, got a pretty clean Game 1 win.
And we said that they actually scaled into their comfort zone, but there was a lot of shenanigans that were happening, particularly in the top lane, and this actually started very early on, Armeo going directly from red buff to the Gromp. Oh, excuse to top lane. This isn't that, though. Looks like we're jumping ahead a little bit. Rebel Fox, I know you wanted to praise Jan in particular for how one of our players, Jan, manages guys.
Yeah, it was a 5-on-5 setup was pretty important for the Baron play, and it's like, okay, at this point, Team Liquid's feeling completely confident in their abilities across the board to be able to take a play like this. Surenfire gets driven out of the river and back to his own base. I think it was Crumbs that talked about on cast, which immediately prompts them to begin with. But you see the gun setup for Jan, and it's perfect, because you start with what is Calibrum and then Crescendum, red-white, or green-white, my apologies, which gives you like an unreal amount of shock room to use inside of that attack speed, which just drives you into a fantastic place as Surenfire's pushed away. And then the turn-off is the more important one, because at that point you swap to team fighting guns with Gravitum and Infernum, and there's no competition from the side of C9. Not only do they not have their jungler to contest this Baron, their setup isn't there in any of the lanes. Mid lane ends up getting pushed back out. That's equalized so that like King and Darshan can't respond too heavily, and they're in the river much faster than anything else. So Jan basically it's 2v2 this Baron alongside this Trundle. Everybody else gets to play a little bit of defense. Jenkins still has ultimate for this. It's a perfect setup, exactly what Team Liquid is looking for. They get to get their Baron, they get to get their 5-on-5, they get to use their far superior 5-on-5 and late game kind of techniques that they've been waiting on for the entirety of this game. And it's a low range comp from C9. They didn't have an advantage. They have to push into a terrible area of the map. And after this, it's just, I honestly, this was the point in the game where Team Liquid kind of just completely broke everything into their favor.
It's just so well played from TL by playing things slow, right? Because Cassiopeia, is this a pick that does a ton of damage and is good into Aphelios? Yes, but what does she struggle against? She struggles against range, and having that pillar playing around the Braum was so perfect for TL. As getting another replay, this is really the one spot in the late game where TL was somewhat tested.
Yeah, it was. There's good engage from Isles. No, not a ton of follow-up to come through from it. This was the one bit of denial that you had. You had the Cassiopeia also catch at least a little bit. But even at this point, it's a 5,000 gold deficit they're sitting at. They're still trading 1-for-1. And C9, once all the ultimates are burnt, they don't have a lot to work with inside of this fight because they're at that range disadvantage. I think Rafa mentioned also that the wave clear really isn't there in terms of safety either, especially into a GP. Like, especially one that's running Tiamat. We mentioned that during the series that Jenkins felt like he was bored, so he just picked Tiamat so they could insta-wave clear waves, and now all of a sudden Team Liquid or C9 has nothing to do. And from this point, again, this is just them continuing this advantage, continuing to use this gold that they've got, and winning just over and over again. At this point, C9 just has no strikes back whatsoever in the series.
There's a couple of points here that we have to pay attention to, right? With Jan, after he gets that fight bottom lane with the Gravitum plus the Crescendum, he instantly then goes to the Baron where he
Watch
gets
the
the
tree.
red and white guns, right? It's so fast. Also, yeah, this is absolutely nuts. LeBlanc damage, still crazy to this day. But something that I'm noticing as a top lane main, and we're going to come to Cubby here in a sec, Isles hasn't really necessarily been on the same page. In that bottom lane fight, he went really early and really deep despite having a 4-man ultimate, and around the Baron, he was going to hop over the pit wall to get into the pit, potentially looking for a steal, but the rest of the team needed him to actually get the fight started around the actual pixel brush.
In for C9, I mean, a part of that is just the fact that as the game goes on, you run into difficulties going into Aphelios, Trundle, Braum, and with the GP2, it's so much peel for the side of Team Liquid to protect that Aphelios. And Rebel, I like the point that you had a lot too, the fact that Jan was always managing his guns to have Gravitum and Inferno for those team fights. So pumping out the AoE damage, but more importantly for him, bringing the CC, taking advantage of the fact that if you are able to stun targets up, you can put down the damage with TL by shredding people just based on the Trundle ult, playing off of whoever Braum is able to land stuns on with that passive. And TL really put together a cool, calm, and collected early game. Didn't allow C9 to play to their strengths. Didn't allow for them to amass that 2,000 gold lead to 15 that they have been averaging in the playoffs. And from there, just outscaled them and made this look like a relatively easy and controlled game for Team Liquid.
I feel like we've been seeing quite a bit of this over the series where Team Liquid are able to win. When they get these slower games, they tend to win quite a bit more. And so looking at that, how they've been able to manufacture a bit of a slower game despite, a lot of shenanigans resulting in nothing in the top half of the map, where else are we looking? Because I know there was a lot of praise towards Surenfire and Darshan earlier in our first segment, but we didn't have a chance to necessarily look at how Team Liquid are going to respond to that. Rebel?
I mean, the early game that I usually see out of Team Liquid if they're fighting for it comes from Isla. I know that Cubby is a big fan of the Isla versus Isles matchup, and I had a lot of favor towards Isla in this one. I think Isla's been amazing even in playoffs, being able to make an impact across the map, especially when he sat across from Poom. The impact he was able to have against somebody like Poom was really important as well, and so Isla was the person I had my eyes on. But Armeo actually surprised me inside of this first game, as we heard about all the shenanigans that happened top lane. A fair amount of that actually, like, he wasn't keeping up in CS, sure, but he's playing Trundle into Viego. You don't need to have that kind of massive CSing. And you really locked down Surenfire, who's usually kind of that early game engine for C9. He was able to stop that and prevent any real significant progress that Lucia would have in a Gangplank. Kind of just denied all of this early game that C9 usually has and helped out the rest of his team get into this team fighting position. It looked really comfortable for Team Liquid, despite the fact that we went like 25 minutes with 1 kill, 2 kills, something like that from combined 2 teams. A lot of that was because Armeo was just shutting out the map from everybody, making sure Team Liquid was going to be comfortable, set up for themselves for the 5-on-5.
And so with that in mind then, right, we do have Armeo really shutting down the jungler Surenfire from Cloud9 really heavily. Cubby, it sounds like you wanted to get something in, but I'm kind of curious, where do you expect Cloud9 to try and make adaptations? Was this a draft difference? Was this a gameplay difference? Where do they need to fix things up now that they're going to be on the blue side?
I think it kind of pains me to say this. I think Trundle is going to be a really highly contested pick in this matchup, and I think on blue side as well. I want to keep my eyes on the Aphelios, as that is something that King has played to great success in the playoffs, and it seems like TL are going to be pretty set on denying that Ziggs, as they did ban it away first on blue side, and I would not be surprised they kept that ban for the rest of the series, as Jan hasn't really shown a great propensity to play that champion, just opting for other things for Jan. But Trundle, for me, if Surenfire isn't able to execute something like the Viego, that is also going to be kind of preventative of any Xin Zhao's coming out, a jungler that both these teams really like to pilot. And so I really want to see if Trundle ends up on the ban list, and maybe if they drop some of those bans aimed at Jenkins' champion pool, because when I see a Camille and Kennen taken away, the first thing that goes to my mind is, oh, you know what? They want to set up for a Gnar, and given Darshan's success on that champ, it makes a lot of sense to me, but then not opting for that once you see the Gangplank, it kind of leaves me scratching my head as to why those 2 bans were invested against like Darshan to try and, or Jenkins to try and set up Darshan's pick. So I want to see if some swaps come out and what happens with Trundle, because I think that's going to be a really critical pick throughout the rest of this series.
Trundle was really good in game one from Armeo, being able to shut out the aggression from Schernfire, and that aggression's what oftentimes led to C9 doing well. Not to mention, like you said, when it comes to the top lane pool, like I feel like there are picks that Darshan has that like do well into both the Kennen and into the Camille, which should open up the ability to get rid of some of these neutralizing junglers that would prevent Schernfire from having an impact. I also am excited to see, Copy was kind of known back when he first kind of made his entrance right before he started into Academy for things like Twisted Fate, things like Galio, things that affect the map like that. I'm curious if C9 can pull anything like that back out of their pocket so that they can really start to press the gas down in the earlier phases of the game, because what we saw, 5-on-5 doesn't look great for them against the side of Team Liquid Academy, not that it would for most teams in the first place as it is.
That is something that we've been seeing a lot of success with from Team Liquid. I want to harken back a little bit to the 100 Thieves match that they played not that long ago, where Team Liquid, despite having these massive early deficits, were able to always find fights that they wanted. Oftentimes it was off of the back of a Nocturne that just forced the 100 Thieves to group up. But this is a situation where they weren't coming at it with a deficit at all, and we've already seen how effectively they've been able to move around the map and actually get these fights started on their terms, even when they aren't the ones with the Nautilus. As we are starting to get ready towards the draft, I know we've talked a lot about this Trundle being a linchpin, Cubby. Is there any last thoughts you have before we move on to the draft?
I think that taking away Trundle and getting Schernfire something like a Xin Zhao, where you're taking away Armeo's kind of number one counter, could be something that sets up very well for C9 on this blue side, as I think Rebel properly pointed out that Schernfire kind of is the catalyst for a lot of the early game plays and leads that C9 are able to amass. So I want to see if that might be the setup here on blue side. And if you're Team Liquid, I think front-to-back team fighting, if you're able to take away tools that prevent C9 from finding flanks and finding some of those front-to-backs for yourself, that looked to be very good in game one, and you can secure that Aphelios. Why not try it again in game two?
Well, there we go. It sounds like it's just that easy, but they're also on the blue side. So, Roth and Crumbs, you got to remember as we're about to get into it, blue side has had a 74% win rate across all of Academy Finals. Is that going to be enough for Cloud9? Take it away.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to bring up the damn stats. 74% win rate on the blue side, but Cloud9, they might be the more advantageous blue now that they have selected the first pick of this side. So far, the bans looking to be the same. Oh my gosh, they actually banned the Gangplank, Crumbs.
That is a respect ban if I've ever seen it, on top of the Kennen ban as well. So I think Jenkins has already proven himself to be a formidable top laner this year. He has been one of the guys that goes to LCS, proves himself there, comes here, and the Trundle is also going to be banned. So Armeo getting that one done too. I shared Cubby's sentiment. I think that Trundle was going to be a really important pick, mostly because he got buffed into the meta, very relevant against the tanks, can sacrifice the early game. The other junglers don't really have that option. They do have to farm, whereas Trundle can go for those early ganks and still be relevant because he steals that gold that he lacks from the stats of the tanks. So he's able to sacrifice himself and ensure that the lanes go well. But now Cloud9 gets rid of it, despite Schernfire having a good game on it. And Camille is still open. It's a matchup that maybe they're okay with Jenkins having. And what I personally prefer about this one is that King is on an AD carry. Yes, mages are good, but AD carries push waves faster early, and that often dictates the pace of those scuttle crabs, those dragon fights, and that snowballs games more effectively.
Now, Team Liquid rapid fire responses though with Jin and the Xin Zhao. So not only Armeo getting his first pick at one of the most powerful junglers, at least when it comes to the early game, but still having that awesome late game utility in the Crescent Guard. And this Jin has been cropping up a lot all over both Academy and LCS as well. But what is your kind of read into why AD carries are starting to lead back into this market?
So if you're ever playing Varus and you're trying to poke somebody out, what you hate the most is somebody outranging you with your poke, because you have really long range. And so what does Jin do late game? He just pops, and you can't see him. He's hitting you, and he's doing what you're trying to do to him, and you have no way to retaliate. If that wasn't enough, when Xin uses his wind turns to lightning, which is a really long range skill shot, or is just dashing at you, you can now assist the Xin Zhao from really far away. So you don't have to pick the Ashe and have it be that the enemy can itemize magic resistance and be really effective against you, can now have a physical damage, assistance, and higher DPS to burst targets down while still providing help for your laners, for your engages rather. So I really like the Jhin pick into the Varus, since Jin's weakness is when people are trying to dive against him and tanks, but that's not what Varus is trying to do. So it should work well here.
Yeah. And Varus does have the flexibility of either going for the poke lethality build that we have seen many a time, but we have also seen some players start to opt into more of an on-hit or even a crit build for Varus, as last night on the Unified Grand Prix, I believe one of the teams opted into just a normal crit build for Varus just to kind of adapt to the pace of the game. Already Cloud9 are trying to look at limiting the support options, same with Team Liquid. There's still a support to be locked in, but there's also top laners that have to be locked in, at least for Jenkins. Whereas Cloud9, this Ryze and the Viego have the potential to be flexed in both lanes.
These bans are wild. Like, these scrims must have been nuts, because that is a Lilia top ban against Jenkins, right? Like, Cloud9 is saying, we think you're gonna play this, and we don't have a good matchup into it. And Team Liquid is banning out Karma, which is odd to me. I think the Karma would have been a support. No way Darshan is playing Karma top. Like, it's just not happening. Darshan does not play these kind of champions, whereas the Karma and the Varus make it for a pokey lane that is a little bit difficult. But if you want to play a Thresh, you would love going up into a Karma, right? Because you have a lot of kill pressure with the Jhin. So I think that Team Liquid is perhaps throwing too much respect at Cloud9, but will now get a pretty tough matchup. Nautilus does really well into the Thresh, and now there's a Tahm Kench. So I like this shift away. No longer will the attention be into the top side of the map. It's TK, an unmovable object. What does Jenkins play against it? Because he's been banned so much, and just plays it safe with a Gnar.
Even with Gangplank and Cannon off the table here, Crumbs, Jenkins still has a reliable pick that he can play comfortably in this lane against the Tahm Kench. And, you know, the Lilia ban is something that we only saw out of Tien from CLG Academy, so I guess Team Liquid were kind of picking up on some of the CLG strats for them, as Lilia does do pretty well in the tanks. But now, with the final compositions locked in here, Crumbs, we look once again that Team Liquid have some pretty nasty team fighting potential once Gnar is in mega form. You have the Shockwave to follow up on engages as well. Xin Zhao, as an engage tool, not necessarily the most reliable, but he can kind of disperse the team fight with Crescent Guard and give a lot of protection towards the back.
Both have good team fights, but I think the action is going to have to be about the bot lane now, because it's Hook City down there. Skill shots are really important in the AD carries as well, and whoever of these supports has a higher skill shot accuracy, starts roaming across the map, is gonna change the landscape of this game. So I think that if game one was about the junglers and how they paced back and forth, this is about the supports, because boy, they did not do that much that last game. They want to play some League of Legends, and I think when you pick Thresh and Nautilus, is when you're asking the coach to put you in.
And I think the overall change in the solo laners as well, instead of going for picks like the Lee Sin and the Lucian that want to snowball early, as we're getting awesome animal cameras. Thank you, Sam Price, our wonderful observer. Try to spot the animals. This is the National Geographic Channel here on LCS. But for Cloud9, Copy and Darshan, switching from early game picks into picks that just scale further and further into the late game. Tahm Kench will become that immovable object that you've talked about. Copy on the Rise. More items, each power spike, the wave clear just becomes extremely obnoxious to try and split against. And the AoE damage that you can make out of well-played Rise with the spell flux into the overload can be devastating against Team Liquid.
I think what's also devastating about Rise is his ability to round more up to the side lanes. That is such an annoying part of his kit, where he's just able to bring somebody else. If you thought TF was annoying, bringing himself with a stun, how about Rise? Brings the whole crew with him. So a little shorter range, but more effective at influencing sides. So I'm looking out for Copy to do that, because if he can start putting behind these champions that are going to be really easy to kill in specific timings, the Jhin with no Lantern behind him, or Thresh right there, or Gnar in mini form, then I think Cloud9 can get advantages in the early game through globals that TL just can't match.
Whoa, Arshan popping the Ghost already. Gets one more auto attack if he can find the Liquid, get a stun, but Doesn't quite get it. That's I don't remember what the
Nice emote.
slight BM from Jenkins. Like, yeah, that ghost had me terrified. All right.
Right, you're terrified because you wonder, like, is your keyboard all right, man? Like, what's do we need to pause? You want me to pause for you? But no, that's just Tom Kent doing his thing, right? He's trying to trade summoners early, see if he can get some damage. But Jenkins with grass is gonna be fine.
Nice hook, but it's level 2 from Ayla and Yon. Oh, beautiful hook as well. The ignite comes out. Isles has to burn the flash, and King even having to provide heal as well. That's a double summoner spell burnt from Cloud9's bottom lane. For Team Liquid, have 3.
That was actually really close to a kill, except Jin was reloading. There was he didn't get the full 4 autos with the crit at the very end, so that was just because Isle overstepped. That was not an unexpected move for our C9. They needed to back off, recognizing that TL was going to win the push to 2, and they paid dearly for that. And now with Thresh having flash and a yanking jungler like a Xin Zhao available, I'm worried for Isles. And we mentioned this was going to be about the supports. The bottom lane, when it's Hook City, is always action-packed.
That's the battle of the Oceanic supports, duking it for a Academy Finals victory here, as last season we didn't get an Academy playoffs. The unofficial Academy Finals, as we have dubbed it, went over to Team Liquid, but Cloud9 didn't even attend the tournament. And the desk was before that this is the first official best of 5 that we get to see from both this iteration of Cloud9 Academy and Team Liquid Academy. And so far, Team Liquid already have the right steps after winning Game 1 and a pretty decent advantage on this bottom side of the map.
Now, how do they play through that advantage? Because we know they can play through top and through mid as well, but how do they actually transition a lead to the bot lane? Because Cloud9 right now is trying to dive Jenkins. He can charge up his Mega and Rise is on the way, but Xin is here too.
Fire has to land this W stun, but beautiful flash from Jenkins is going to be able to dodge it out. Armeo is also here, so Copy, even though he came up for reinforcements, Jenkins knew that he was safe.
I mean, at this point, if I'm Team Liquid, I'm just thinking, how obvious can you get Cloud9? 2 games in a row, in the same timing, they go for this play. So, Team Liquid is just having an easy time responding to something that Cloud9 seems to just be doing in a predictable fashion, and it makes it easy for them to respond to. Only burning flash, and Zin's pathing isn't really hurt by this, so a good way to defer Cloud9's look for action, but they have to return. You gotta punish the lack of flash, or else that earlier effort just ends up being a loss for Cloud9.
Team Liquid, once again, stalling out the early game, but the later the game goes, Cloud9 do have a way of being able to fight back, so there's not necessarily a need to push the early game when it is for Cloud9. You do have this advantage that you want to try and get King off the ground, but already with the summoners being burned, Team Liquid still have this push advantage. Now, the dragon being spawned, Surenfire is on the bottom side of the map, but it looks like bottom lanes are respawning at the moment. I wonder if, with the way Surenfire is pathing towards, are we going to just see another dive attempt at this point in the top side of the map?
I think you gotta. Cloud9's gotta look for this, but as long as Jenkins continues to play the way he is, he's really respecting the position that the wave is at. He's keeping himself far away, so even if the lick lands, Arshan's not able to combo further, he would have to pop Ghost, and maybe that even won't catch him. So he's just maximizing his range really effectively, and as long as that happens, then the opportunity for Cloud9 to dive is so slim that it's almost just not worth it, because you don't actually know if you can pull it off.
You even saw Ayla potentially reading a top lane play, but then backs off and now is walking towards the mid lane, hovering around here. Armeo on the other side of the flank as well. If Copy overextends, they could potentially look to burn a summoner. Shockwave comes out. Gets a chunk down, but Ayla decides not to go for it. Is going to respond as Isles is committed towards the bottom side of the map.
Oh.
Surenfire. Oh, the delayed smite. Armeo smote early, and Surenfire was able to get the crab away, forcing the flash out of Armeo.
I think he was about 20 health away. Now, Armeo's not sick, so Copy could have flashed in. But remember, we just saw Thresh in the mid lane, and there's a lot of control wards that only now Isles is clearing from the river. So he knows that if he committed for that, there's a chance that Ayla would have actually still been in range to either assist with a lantern, best case scenario, or worst case scenario. He's right there, and he hooks you down. So they're okay with that. Just get the flash, and now I can't come to Darshan. He has no flash. He's dead.
First blood for Team Liquid. The Cloud9 have an opportunity to get the Dragon on the other side of the map, as Isle being the first one to the punch back onto the bottom side of the map, got that push in, allowed King and Isles to be able to walk up, secure vision control, and setting up for a safe Dragon take, whereas Ayla was coming back from the mid lane. Team Liquid could be pretty content, though, getting first blood onto Armeo, as Xin Zhao, if you get ahead rolling with an early Gore Drinker purchase, you can force so many skirmishes, and Cloud9 will just have to respect it.
He does so much damage, and I feel for Cloud9 in this situation, because you just invested so much into the top side. Oh, level 6, that's what they're waiting for. Doesn't look like we're going to get anything, but you invested so much in Darshan to take down Jenkins. You even get the flash out of the Xin. You know where the Xin is, and still he finds a gank. You wonder, like, this shouldn't be allowed. It should be us killing the Xin, not him finding a kill onto us. Watch King. He's looking for the ult. Gets it.
Oh, flash? Ooh, okay, good read. Flash Chain of Corruptions onto Ayla, because knowing that going for Yon, he's just going to take the Dark Passage, taking down the support instead. That's a kill for Fire.
Really nice there. It felt like Ayla was really aware that they were looking for Yon, but forgot that he could also be a viable target, since there's a cleanse on the Jhin, so he's never going to get flash ultimate and die to King. So I think he needed to flash that hook, but as a support, you're always thinking about your AD carry, and you're not thinking about yourself. He's throwing out the lantern for his buddy, but then he falls prey to it. And the ult from Fire cuts the distance and still lands the damage, so that made the big difference. And yeah, honestly, can't blame a support for always thinking of keeping their AD carry alive over him. And the result is that he catches the wave, right? He doesn't fall behind, but the kill does go over to the Viego, so now the junglers are matched in kills.
Gene Power Spike for Fire, Iron Whiplash, and a Phage for Armeo. So technically Armeo is up on components, but I would imagine that Fire does have some unspent gold. This Rift Herald is looking pretty juicy for the majority of Cloud9 members. Armeo wants to roam over as well. Both of the supports are here to match for pressure, but it doesn't seem like Cloud9 are going to be able to get into position to it anytime soon.
Cloud9 knows that they have a top lane pushing, that they need to shove out mid lane before they go for this, and now they see Isles, so no team wants to start this Rift Hill because they know the other will have no problem starting the fight. It's pretty tricky to do this against Cloud9, because even if you do have the right setup, remember the Realm Warp, that Ryze can just pump his team right into the mix.
Sean, you gotta pop the NOS button, buddy. Reinforcements are coming. Armeo was in hot pursuit. Jenkins already revealing that they wanted to go for the kill. Darshan does lose out on the ghost, but he keeps his life.
The turbo canch pops the NOS. It's like like Vin Diesel.
That's right. Too fast, too furious. Now, see, now we gotta...
It's 8 Fast to Furious now, actually.
Oh, yeah. So many Fast and Furious movies coming out. Harry did have the burn flash as Isles burned Death Charge for the Summoner spell, an advantage. This gives Copy the opportunity to roam over and secure priority for this Rift Herald play. Armeo and Ayla are in the vicinity. We're going to have to see if they want to challenge, as Jenkins does have the push onto Darshan on the tops as well. Can always walk on over.
He just for the ultimate, but now with the Varus right here and Orianna getting chunked, I still think this belongs to Cloud9. But Team Liquid, unlike Game 1, not in a position to really get anything for it. So I think this is a smart rotation from C9, knowing that Team Liquid not in a way to answer this. Only the minion will crash down to the bottom lane, but King quickly pivots back to the bot side and will only miss a few CS. So that's a worthwhile trade for Cloud9, and it's a big difference from their earlier game where they were really struggling with the Rift Heralds and losing out on opportunities for gold for it. So they're learning, they're getting stronger, and it's reflected in a better early game.
Yeah, they burned Teleport on Harry as well, as he was trying to make sure that he could get to the Rift Herald play if Team Liquid wanted to fight for it, but by that time he made his appearance. Cloud9 had already burned down the Rift Herald, and it looks like Cloud9 being on the map faster is going to give Isles an opportunity to look for powerful vision control as Darshan. Does he find a solo kill? Jenkins has the burn flash here.
Yeah, he would have been eaten, and that's dead. Maybe he would have procced his Mega and would have been able to punt Darshan away, but you just don't risk it, because Tahm Kench can always surprise you. His damage just comes out of nowhere. You don't think he hurts, but he's always doing so much. His percentage HP and licks and autos are just things of nightmares.
not only Too Fast, Too Furious, but also a horror movie potentially out of Darshan, just
You know,
embodying the spirit of Jaws.
some would say that Too Fast, Too Furious is a horror movie.
Depending on what time you watch it at night, I guess it can amplify the tension in that movie. I haven't seen it in so long, but rest in peace to Chris.
Dragon. Okay, our man. Ooh! And stun barely missed.
Oh, edge line going a little wide. Jan was able to answer back with that deadly flourish. Both of these teams fighting for position over the river. Rift Herald is going to be burned by Schernfire, but it's not necessarily a Rift Herald that's going to get plates, but it will buy them time to secure this dragon.
The Distraction Herald. It's an old one, but it works because now they're getting Dragon, but the fight is still happening.
Realm War comes out, and Copy is here in the backline, but it goes right into a shockwave. Schernfire is going to be able to take the dragon and leave, but looks like Copy unfortunately goes down for Cloud9.
I mean, I think Cloud9 is not happy with this trade because now Team Liquid gets to push out 2 lanes at once, mid and bottom. That wave is going to be denied from the right. Yeah, you get the dragon, but you know that Team Liquid plays really well with more gold in their pockets. And I think that they'll be able to take fights in the 3rd dragon and in the 4th, and it won't matter to them as long as they can continue to fight it. Getting the Orianna in a powerful position ahead of the Rise is, I think, the scariest thing for Cloud9, because unless the Nautilus really gets in range or a Realm Warp gets multiple members behind them, Orianna is going to be the largest threat for C9. She's going to be the one who buffs up Xin Zhao, hands a shockwave over, whether it's through Jenkins, even Ayla or Armeo can deliver it, and this champion can win team fights by herself. So getting gold over to Harry can be the thing that undoes Cloud9's chances.
Especially considering that the majority of these champions outside of Viego don't have real mobility in their kits. And a King without a flash, Copy without a flash, super easy for a shockwave to connect and just cause massive destruction into the backline of Cloud9. As we are getting towards the 15-minute mark, not quite outside of the early laning phase, as still people from Cloud9 and Team Liquid are still within their original starting lane phases. But Cloud9, at some point I imagine that you want to rotate King into this mid lane and start setting up Copy on the side lane to split push.
I think once he completes the Everfrost, I think that's when Copy's going to do it. You usually want to just wait for that single first completed item before you go for it, because that'll also give you really good kill pressure and defensive capability. So that's usually the timer when mid laners are looking to start side laning as well. And the same goes for King's build. But oddly enough, this is a rare one, Rafa. The Umbral Glaive first item. Really good item if you're not familiar. If you're at home, what this item does, it is essentially a walking scryer, a trinket, a red trinket. It just sees wards, it tells you, and then you can kill them. So it'll allow him to play through Fog of War a bit more effectively, and it's pretty useful on Varus since you have a higher chance of landing poke if they don't see where it's coming. If they see you charging and aiming it at him, well, that's really easy to dodge.
The nice thing about Umbral Glaive 2 is it's just relatively cheap, so it allows you to get a power spike on the map super quickly, and I think that's what Cloud9 are just going for, trying to be enabled at ASAP. King burning the cleanse from Yon thanks to the Chain of Corruptions, but now Yon gets to sit back and unload the curtain call. Isles getting engaged on by Armeo is able to punt it back with the Death Charge. Schernfire here for the reinforcements. Darshan has also made the teleport play as well, but Shockwave is huge. Gets a bunch of damage onto Schernfire. Darshan able, but look at Jenkins! He scoops him right back up, but Jenkins doesn't have enough damage and follow from the rest of the team. They only equalize the top laners, and Schernfire gets hooked right back in! Oh my goodness, Team Liquid answer back with a double.
He turned into Mininar. He was popped when he showed up. That was probably not the possession he wanted, but Team Liquid still win the fight. More gold over to the Orianna. The Jhin is fed, survived the engage, and Team Liquid continued to win in these team fights. They're flat out team fighting Cloud9. And that was when King tried to engage solo onto Yun, but commits himself to a position that is too far up so that the rest of the team can easily back him up. You gotta remember, Yon still has flash. He's not phased by the Umbral Glaive. It's less damage than the Duskblade right now, so he knows he's not in kill range. He just needs to wait and then sets up his team with the curtain call. It's looking good for TL, Rafa. Cloud9 need to look for fights that are definitely in their favor. Not just throw things at a wall and see what sticks.
Jan just having the composure just to say, all right, cleanse, and now set up for the rest of the team to come in. This was an expensive fight. We talk about how many summoner spells were used here, Crumbs, so that's going to be the important thing as we look on for further skirmishes.
Yeah, so right now, Cloud9 is out, but then Jenkins does a really nice job punting him back. He dies. They trade Tomken. You weren't going to be able to stop that one, but that repossession, I think, was the one thing that swung the fight over in Team Liquid's favor. That one was unnecessary, and that honestly could be the inexperience that the Des touched upon. The Viego, not something that both these jungles have really fancied this whole split long, and so taking that repossession is something that perhaps a more experienced Viego player would say, you know what, you don't have to take them all.
Kind of like the same thing with inexperienced Lee Sin players. You take the Q and you just think, oh man, I gotta take the second Q and gotta go in and look for the insect play. But sometimes, man, you don't gotta do it, even if your body's telling you.
The body is just so persuasive, you know. It tells you exactly what you want to hear. You can do it. You've seen the other Viegos. They pentakill all the time, especially from the jungle. Just do it.
You gotta have a stronger mind over body. You gotta have the will to understand that just because you can doesn't mean you should. Team Liquid are still trying to prepare, looking for control over this dragon. Copy has a potential flank as they're waiting out the Mega Gnar from Jenkins. Missed the hop over the wall, doesn't get a chance to punish Copy on the other side of the wall here. 3,000 HP on the dragon still. Cloud9 trying to dance back and forth. The curtain call comes out, and it's going to be a huge chunk onto Darshan, looking for one last bullet, and manages to hit. Armeo is able to secure the dragon. The engage comes out. Death charge onto Harry. Shuts him down.
Okay. Oh, nice jump away. I think he's fine. Uses Armeo as a little platform to get out of that fight, and I think Team Liquid's okay with it. Yes, you lost the Orianna, but it felt like that fight could have been so much worse for TL. The poke from King was very effective at the beginning of the fight, and that meant that Thresh just could never look for an angle for a hook. He had to play Lantern duty, and then Team Liquid recognized, hey, we're not winning this fight. Go for the steal. Just try to outsmite it. Armeo does, gets Lantern back out, and they trade a kill for the dragon, but they will lose some gold in the bot side. Maybe even the turret, though. I don't think Harry's going to TP down here. It's too dangerous. There's still vision from Cloud9. So Cloud9, if they can get this turret, will feel much better about that dragon fight.
Team Liquid with a slight 2,000 gold lead as well at 20 minutes into the game. Not sure how much it means in the grand scheme of things as we are heading closer and closer to the late game. Mid game has arrived as well, Crumbs. Copy is in the side lane. He has the Everfrost completed. He's able to take down a turret for their troubles. Cloud9 are still looking for ways to be able to stem the bleeding that Team Liquid are trying to enact upon Cloud9 in the earlier parts of the game. Yawn having a decent shutdown. That is going to be a key target for Cloud9 to try and isolate in the next fight.
You gotta get to the gym, but he is really tricky, especially when the Lantern is out. You saw just how far back he was playing that last fight, and it's not the first time he's done it. Just how in Champ Select we talked about how the Jhin was gonna play. He's just gonna outrange Varus. He's just going to do that, and once he starts getting the crit items, the Collector, which is coming up next, that's when it's going to get really nasty, because this champion, when he starts to get items against the three squishies, the damage dealers of Cloud9, then they really won't be able to stand up to it. And Isles isn't really a tank. Without the Aftershock, he will also die to a fed Jhin. So Yeon is going to be a target that they have to watch out for, and they'll have to start thinking about how do we get in a position to kill the Jhin. And it starts by feeding Copy, since he can flash onto him and kill him, but he's getting popped right now too.
Shockwave comes out, Curtain Call follows up as a response, but Isles and Surefire are doing a great job of protecting their one damage dealer in the bottom side of the map. However, the pressure is enough for Team Liquid to knock down this bottom turret. As Darshan, eventually looking for Jenkins, still has the Nas button if he wants to pop it, but doesn't land the knock.
There was actually a little bit of a mis-synergy there between Yeon and Harry, because they wanted to land the Shockwave into the fruit from Jhin, but you forgot that the Orianna, her Shockwave, places the target directly opposite from whence the Shockwave began. So if he was on the right side, once the ult pops, then he gets jumped over to the left side of the placement of the ball. And so Yeon aimed at where Rise was, gets flipped, and ends up missing. Because had that connected, Xin comes through, Thresh lands a hook, everyone's diving in, and it would have worked because Xin with the ultimate would have stayed alive.
Next dragon does spawn in about 1:50 here. Team Liquid and Cloud9, it is a Cloud Soul again. Just like in game 1, you have some very powerful ultimates that you do want to have up again, both for Harry and the Shockwave, Curtain Call as well for Yawn. Then when you look at Cloud9, Devour is also a potentially game-saving ability if you're able to keep Copy or King or even Churnfire alive in those prolonged team fights.
You can nerf Devour all you want. The fact that it exists is why it's good, right? It has no scaling. It's just an ability that's just objectively good. And so Darshan having that's going to be always relevant. And I think that is what you can use to have Copy and maybe Churnfire be really aggressive, because you're going to have to dive. I mean, you can't count on King's poke forever. The shields are going to get enough for the Orianna to stay alive. Thresh will also be helpful in that, and it's not like Yeon won't be able to participate with that either. So if King can't do all the poking to set you up to win these fights, if Team Liquid and Cloud9 are just clashing instantly and there's no time to poke, then you need to go in and eliminate the most important targets, which are the Jhin and the Orianna. So being able to flash in multiple members and then save them once they get turned upon is what Tahm Kench can be really effective at doing.
Team Liquid have so many defensive spells to use to counteract aggressive plays from Cloud9. You have blocks from Ayla, Crescent Guard as well from Armeo. Shockwave can also be used defensively if you just plant it right on top of where the Realm Warp is coming in for a flank. Not even that is going to always be reliable. King getting caught off here. Armeo goes in for the play. What a beautiful Devour from Darshan. Saves him from the Shockwave that was coming in. Copy gets routed off by Jenkins, though. Hops over the wall, and now Copy's gone. Cloud9 are all disarrayed at this point. They're going to be pushed off the dragon. Team Liquid should be able to gain priority for this.
They get a kill, and now they can just do this dragon. They know that Cloud9 isn't going to fight 4v5. Jenkins is pushing the wave bottom and can rejoin again. Cloud9 may be trying to buy enough time for the ult. But sure, if I just ultied in, what are you doing?
Okay, well, he has the burn flash in exchange for it. That's huge. And remember the last time that we saw a jungler that was chunked out crumbs and had no flash, had no Heartbreaker? Look where Team Liquid are booking it right now.
Okay, that'd be so bold. With the, I get it with the affiliates, with the Jhin, I'm like, damn, you really think you could just end it right here? But it's slow and methodical for Team Liquid. That is their motto, and this one feels like it's not quite there yet. Not the Baron just yet, but if they can just get a few more fights like that, then they will just end it, because it feels like Cloud9 is getting desperate. That Viego play, come on. Going for a steal like that, they'll see that coming. There's control wards in the Dragon Pit. I'm pretty sure they see it anyways, even though he tried to do it in stealth. And so by going for that, I think it just showed that desperation was there. And you now lost the flash, but also you just have Jenkins, who won the side lane. He's now matching Copy, winning, matching Darshan, and winning. And I gotta tell you, Rafa, despite Jenkins not being so loud in the first game, he's doing so much in this game by the simple fact that he's drawing so many bans and still winning lanes. That's doing so much to free up the rest of the team to play whatever they want, to get comfort picks that make everybody else look better. And it's only making him a stronger top lane when you consider that Cloud9 has played almost all year long through the top side.
You ban the Kennen and the Camille game 1, you get the GP. You ban the Kennen and the GP that time, you get the Gnar. It doesn't seem like Cloud9 can ever isolate and put Jenkins into a losing matchup unless you were to get counterpicked on the red side of the map. And even then, hasn't amounted to anything. They're still going to try, though. Copy has teleported here. Darshan burning the ghost as well. Jenkins is buying a lot of time, and look where Team Liquid are beelining. They're going straight to the Baron, and Jenkins is just stalling the ever-living heck out of Copy and Darshan.
He outplayed him! Team Liquid's going for the Baron, but this could be where Cloud9 can actually win here. If they can get a smite fight or actually win. Team Liquid can't commit to this. Cloud9's already here.
7,000 on the Baron, but you already said it before. Jhin is not the best when it comes to burning Baron, and the poke advantage from King is going to force Armeo's hand. Do you commit and look for a 50-50? There's an engagement from Miles. Armeo's done. Baron's gonna respawn it, but this is Cloud9's chance to potentially look for a winning fight. They've taken out Ayla, they've taken out Armeo. Copy looking to follow up on Harry, forcing the flash over the wall. Baron is now on the table, potentially for Cloud9.
Baited and outsmarted. Cloud9 tries to go for Jenkins, then Team Liquid's thinking, oh yeah, we could easily go for it, but you know what hurt them in that is that Jenkins' retreat path is actually leading Copy and Darshan back to the Baron. So they're able to collapse, assist in the fight, and at the same time, you're dealing with a poke Varus. He does so much in these situations by himself. Yes, they're down a few members. Team Liquid does not have a quick Baron. This isn't an Aphelios or a Cassiopeia. It's Orianna Jhin. It's going to be really slow, and Team Liquid really bite the bullet on that one. They're even in gold, but now Cloud9 feels like they got a new lease on life. That was a big move. And watch how King snipes Armeo. Keeps him low, but then right at the very edge, clips him with the ultimate, and then bam, sniped out. That fight is over. The bottom fight is already done. Cloud9 saw the opportunity that Team Liquid thought was their chance to win. They needed to get out of that Baron. They thought they could stay, underestimated, or rather overestimated their champions, and really, really paid for it.
For so long, Crumbs, in this series. Game 1, Cloud9 were looking for ways to break down the defensive wall that Team Liquid was putting up so successfully. They couldn't do it in Game 1. For a majority of the early game, in this game, for Game 2, Cloud9 still tried to break down the barrier. They couldn't get it down, but Team Liquid, they let one crack slip open in a defensive wall. They make the overestimate of how well they're able to burn down the Baron. Cloud9 punish, and the momentum instantly swings back over.
You know, that momentum is going to make their late really nasty too, because now they're going to be able to transition this Baron power play into the Dragon, which puts them at soul point, and ultimates on these champions are going to be really powerful. Viego with a Cloud Soul, you already know that's going to be nasty. Resets with extra movement speed. Same thing goes with a Nautilus that can ult move faster. Even King can get so much value. It is a powerful Dragon that now Cloud9 will be at soul point to actually ensure that their late game is able to outmaneuver Team Liquid's dancing back and forth with the Lanterns and Orianna's shields and speeds.
Sean even able to push out on the bottom side of the map with this Baron. 2 empowered cannon minions. It's going to call the attention of both Armeo and Harry, but that might open up the mid lane for a push. Turnfire is actually taking this opportunity to go for a Dragon, put them at soul point. King and Isles have enough pressure to be able to take the turret 2v2 by themselves. So Cloud9, they're winning out on the map, and they're winning out on all the lanes at the moment.
Now let's see if they can get outer turrets for this, because Ryze and TK are already pushing. Harry's being very respectful, and the Xin and Thresh are not really in the area. So if they can get these turrets, the gold lead could be significant enough that Team Liquid just is not going to be able to come back so easily. Because it feels already that Team Liquid is definitely on the back foot, because now the Baron is just yielding so much gold over to C9, but there's still the threat of the Orianna Xin. That is always going to be relevant, and she's got a Void Staff now too, so those MR purchases from the tanks are not really going to help out.
Cloud9 have been able to put themselves back.
He's happy. He's jumping.
I broke my train of thought, just the blast cone from King. But you know what? He's got the red buff now. He's efficiently making his way through the jungle, building up more CS. King, for a while, sitting on the Umbral Glaive, was not doing that much damage, but now has the fully stacked Muramana, the Sorelda's Grudge as well for the extra utility, and the armor penetration being able to pierce through the armors from Team Liquid, whether they are building it or not, as it is full armor penetration. Another perk item, as it looks like he's going to be going for the Eclipse, so a little bit extra survivability once that 4th item comes online. Cloud9 taking this opportunity as they're coordinating the mid lane push while simultaneously taking over Vision in this top jungle.
Yeah, speaking of Vision, I think you can really see the value of the Grudge, but here's a fight first. They're going to disengage. Armeo's in!
He's going on to Isles and forces the flash over the wall. Turnfire joins the fight, and Jenkins is here thanks to the Dark Passage, and they just slam down on the Isles. And this might be lights out for Darshan as well. Can he get the power over the wall? Woohoo! The Abyssal Dive. He's able to get out. He's popping the turbo speed boost. He needs to get the heck out of there. The recall's coming and channeling already for Yon, or King, I should say. He's already out. There's no out for Darshan, unfortunately. But the remaining 3 members of Cloud9 are able to successfully stay alive.
Oh, no one checked those brushes. They are so lucky that Team Liquid was just tunneling on the Tahm Kench. They had no idea where C9 actually recalled, but they see the opportunity. Cloud9 split up in the red side jungle. They see the Nautilus by himself. They know that nobody can really go over the wall without hard committing and potentially putting themselves in a devastating position to a shockwave. So they have no problem all-inning on that one, and they get a lot for that. They stop the bleeding, and now we're back to an even state. And I really, really liked in that play, Rafa, how at the beginning of that you had the Varus roaming in for vision. Oh, wait a minute. Holy.
Whoa, Jenkins looking for the opportunity on the copy, but flash for flash. Gonna keep him at bay with the Everfrost. The rest of Team Liquid are in hot pursuit at the moment. Harry wants to be able to go for something as well. Copy has to pop the Realm Warp. Gonna get his ticket out to safety. Team Liquid are really starting to press forward on the gas. There wasn't a dragon coming up anytime soon. I wonder if the summoners are going to be able to coordinate in time so that they can still get control over this river area.
They're mad. They're mad. Like, they know that this game was absolutely theirs until that Baron play. And so they need to fight their way back to it. There's no longer, we're in at the advantage. We need to fight for the advantage that we have. And seeing Ryze right there was that play. Had that stun landed, he's absolutely dead. The team collapses. Good trade back, but Yun will be able to heal himself back through the lifesteal. And despite the dragon not being up, it's the Baron. The Baron is still available. Taking that kill on Ryze could be a difference maker since he's so important with the death cap now completed. But Jenkins cannot split push in the bottom lane for much longer since he doesn't have teleport, and neither do Harry. So Cloud9, with the TP advantage, could use the side lane pressure that they have to force TL into an unfavorable situation like they did about 8 minutes earlier.
They're doing it again. Copy doesn't have Realm Warp, doesn't have Flash this time around. Armeo's in hot pursuit, but Schernfires actually looks for an opportunity on Neon. It forces Team Liquid to retreat. With the teleport coming in from Darshan, this could be huge for Cloud9 if they can lock down Armeo. He still has Flash if he can get over the wall. Finally gets it out. Curtain Call is a response to try and slow down Cloud9 from further engaging. Cloud9, all 5 members committed toward the top side of the map. A dragon is about to spawn in the next 30 seconds.
Good disengage out of Team Liquid. Armeo, he's thinking that he has to stay because he doesn't want to risk the threat of a Baron. But simply by stalling his recall, he now can't make it to the dragon on time. So C9 can just beeline it to here. Having the earlier position with King means they'll be able to poke down TL. And now they're in such a tough spot. Copy in the top side with the TP, threatening an inhibitor while the rest of the team is going to get Soul Point. Team Liquid need to decide quickly or else they'll lose both.
Jenkins is about to go Mega. This could be an opportunity where he can stall out the dragon fight before Armeo is able to get there. Chain of Corruption comes out, tries to stall out for time, gets a lot of poke down on the Jenkins. He's sub 50% HP. Look, Copy has been splitting on the top side of the map. Now Team Liquid really have to answer and respond. They can't get the dragon or they'll lose the game.
Oh, that's such a big move for Cloud9. Copy really well read. And now they're going to try to rout him. He doesn't have Realm Warp, though. I think they can catch him. If they can catch him here, they can get Baron, and that would mitigate the threat of the inhibitor.
Look at where Cloud9 is pushing right now, though. They're pushing out the mid lane. They know they can't contest for the Baron quite yet. Copy tries to get as much chunk damage as possible onto Yon. The shutdown still comes through, but Team Liquid don't have the HP to be able to start out the Baron right off, so Cloud9 are still able to delay time for our Team Liquid could look for an advantage right now.
That was a lot of damage. That was a lot. So now Yen has to lifesteal and Orianna has to base. But this is the window Team Liquid needs to use. There's TP on Ryze. They could threaten a Baron here, but the poke from Varus is so much. I think they still have to go for it. The game is going to slip out of their hands if they don't get this.
Arshawn able to get vision, pokes his head into the Baron pit. Sees that the Baron is at 10,000 HP. Schernfire still on the flank. He's in the mist right now. Jenkins building up Mega Gnar. This would be huge to be able to have a Mega Gnar fight for the side of Team Liquid. Copy still not respawn on the map. 4,000, 3,000 HP on the Baron. Surefire looks for it. Armeo burns it down. Jenkins looking for the follow-up engage. Shockwave doesn't land onto anyone. Isles is able to make it out alive. Surenfire now looking for a re-engage. Jan is able to rout off Isles, but now Surenfire is the Gnar. He's in mini form. Can he slow them down? Throws out the boomerang blade. Ayla's able to flash away. Team Liquid do give up Jenkins, but it looks like they're going to be able to survive and take the Baron as their consolation prize.
Oh, that Baron's going to help them defend the base now. Cloud9 might try to push, but with the waves not having empowerment from their own team, Team Liquid can easily defend. Maybe the best Cloud9 can get is going to be a tier 2 into the bottom lane, as the Gnar is still dead. But Team Liquid saw what they needed to do, committed for the Baron, which was the right call, and now the game is back to just this stalemate of back and forth action where the teams are really just fighting for these major objectives that allow them to contest each other at the Dragon and at the Baron pit. The next one is just gonna be the Dragon Soul, because with this Baron, Team Liquid can't really do that much. They still don't have an inhibitor in the top lane, so they have to use the Baron to continue to push that wave, and there's really not much that they can set up to take down anything in the side lanes. The tier 2 mid and tier 2 bottom are so far away from them that by the time they really set up, Baron's going to be almost gone.
Something to kind of step back in this game, Crumbs, as we are almost at 40 minutes. The gold lead is almost dead even. It is a 700 gold difference. So at even that point, when we're this late in the game, 700 gold doesn't mean anything in the world. It is practically an even for even game, but as we talked about before, Cloud9 are feeling way more comfortable in the team fighting position than Team Liquid are, as the sustained damage is not necessarily as strong for a Jhin and an Orianna, whereas you look at a Ryze. They all group up and you don't have an access to be able to shut down the Ryze before he starts pumping out the overloads and the spell fluxes. This Team Liquid composition can fall.
Yeah, and so Cloud9 just traded. You just saw that Tahm Kench and Nautilus were shadowing Ryze so that they could trade a tier 2 for a tier 2. And getting that extra gold on Ryze could be a stopwatch if he really has the hourglass right now. Doesn't look like he has it. He's going to be close to it. He did lose an inhibitor turret for that, but now Gnar just showed to the bottom lane, which could be what Cloud9 looked to know before they pull the trigger on the engage. Hex Flash, Nautilus Ultimate are still available. Whoever wins a fight here, if it's big enough, could end the game.
Tension is building here. Crumbs, Team Liquid. A game victory here could mean everything in terms of morale and momentum for them, as it would put them at match point, and Cloud9 would have to just climb a whole mountain to be able to come equalize the series, as well as be able to match them. They would have to go the full distance for Game 5, whereas Team Liquid would be in the driver's seat. But if Cloud9 take the game right here, and everything is even, everyone is on even footing.
It would be so much, because Cloud9 getting this win, which feels like it should have been TL's from that earlier Baron, means that they have another shot at trying something else, because this strategy, in hindsight, I think still was in the favor of Team Liquid if it wasn't for that one play that turned everything around. So Cloud9 means they get another chance to try to come up with something new. And if they hit gold in the next game, had they win this one, now they're at match point. And so everything can swing from Cloud9 winning this matchup. It's really tense now. It's going to be a minute for the Elder. This is what the teams are going to fight for. There's no chance in stalling and dancing for this and trading for Baron. It is an Elder fight. Whoever wins this fight will win the game.
Why does it always come down to the Elder flipped, Crumbs, man?
We like coins. We like flipping things.
This is NA after all, and this is where it comes down to the next minute. At the match of Game 2 will be decided on how well Team Liquid and Cloud9 are able to navigate and set up. Already, Team Liquid are the first ones to the punch, setting up vision control aggressively in the jungle of Cloud9. Surenfire is able to start denying and putting Team Liquid into that fog of war. Isles looking for the flash onto Harry. Deft charge onto the rest of the front line, trying to buy time. Harry has the flash away. Shockwave isn't coming out yet. Jenkins building up the Mega Gnar bar. Watch for him to make the plays to be able to look back on the Team Liquid side. Darshan has been routed off. Jenkins popping a stopwatch, buying some time. Hook lands, and Isles is gone. Team Liquid have a huge numbers advantage now in time for the Elder Dragon.
Watch for King, though. He's still full of health and has flash. If he can get into the mix, he can poke them down. And Copy's really strong, too.
Yon. Oh my gosh, that's huge. They pop Fire and the GA. So now he only has one chance, but the Death Set is right on top of it. Fire and Harry burst down the jungler for Cloud9, and Elder will be secured for Team Liquid.
Wow, and Team Liquid didn't even start that fight. They were the ones who got caught. Isles saw the Orianna, but thought that he could instantly pop her. Instead, has the stopwatch, buys enough time, flashes out, and then the Jhin with the Gnar, with the Orianna, and the Xin to buy time, combine forces to make sure that they can eliminate the Tahm Kench, that the Nautilus doesn't stand a chance. They got the Guardian Angel out of Viego. That is going to be a big deal, because now he can't even attempt to go for a steal and win a fight after. This means that him being dead is going to be the Baron for TL. Cloud9 maybe trying to end this via backdoor, though, because there's a TP on Darshan. You know he loves to end games this way, but against the Baron Empowered Recall, I think that Cloud9 is just going to be able to base and defend. I don't think that this is an attempt to actually end this, but what? Look at Darshan. He's actually going to do this. This seems bonkers.
I mean, it depends on how much of a bluff Team Liquid think that Cloud9 are trying to pull. Do they think it's only Copy going for the split push, and therefore they just dedicate Jenkins and the rest of the members to push down mid lane? It looks like Cloud9 are no longer feeling that confident about that play, as they're now looking for a flank. Jenkins does have an opportunity to teleport, but this Scryer's Orb is going to spot them out. Jenkins has to know he might be able to prep, but he won't have Mega Gnar for this fight. But Cloud9 don't manage to find a flank opportunity on this 4-man, as Team Liquid are just going to be comfortably pushing into the base.
You're just gonna die if you go into the Elder. A Shockwave will kill these carries, so it just has to be Varus poke. That's... Oh my god!
Huge poke damage from King, but Yon is still able to sit back and unload the curtain call once again. Copy, you can see that he's trying to position away and look for a flash play, but he doesn't have flash. He just has to walk up and down smash, but that's not going to be enough if Cloud9 cannot fend off Team Liquid from this siege. One Nexus turret has already fallen. The rest of Team Liquid are still pressing on. They have the Baron buff, they have the Elder Dragon, they feel favored in this fight right now. And Team Liquid building up this Mega Gnar for Jenkins. That's going to be the key. That's going to be the pivot maker. Chain of Corruptions goes wide, doesn't land onto anyone. The Nexus turret is being burned down. Death Charge will land onto Jenkins. Mega Gnar is not going to be popped anytime soon. Finally comes out, looks for Isles, and Isles is blown up. Darshan is gone, and Team Liquid now once again with a numbers advantage. Shockwave will land on a Copy, and Yon, a former teammate, will be able to lock down in Copy from 100 Thieves next. Team Liquid are going to be going for the 2-0 and are a match point in the series for Academy Finals.
Team Liquid, throw the game and catch it right back. It's the alley-oop, is to make the game more exciting, to get the reps in.
Damn.
What an impressive return. It felt like it was falling away. The poke from Varus was so strong. A single arrow was 80% of the Jhin health. But they had the Elder, they had the Baron, they knew they were stronger. And this is what they have been doing in 2 games. That has been so much better than Cloud9's. They know when they're strong and how they need to execute on these fights. Kite back, lifesteal again. Do not rush. They are so patient when it comes to a position that they know they are stronger in. Whereas Cloud9, think of all the moments where they're jumping the gun, the pick onto the Orianna, not able to get it, instantly die, attempts in the bottom lane, the initial catch onto the Gnar that actually ended up benefiting them, but it was actually still TL's good play. So yeah. Cloud9 showing a lot more rushed kinds of plays than Team Liquid, and I think they're really paying for it.
Yeah, apart from that one flub around the Baron pit, Team Liquid have been the essence of clean. Call them Mr. Clean. They are just squeaking down every single play, making sure that there's no room for errors whatsoever. But Crumbs, to play devil's advocate, this is where Cloud9 throws up the tweet. Congratulations, Team Liquid Academy. There's no way that Cloud9 Academy come back from a 0-2. The curse and the legend might or may not come true. Team Liquid would have to knock it down in the upcoming Game 3 right here, right now, or it may live on. If you're a Cloud9 fan, you're hoping for the banger reverse sweep at this point, but for Team Liquid, you are sitting in a very, very comfortable position. When we come back, the analyst desk will take a look at Game 2 and see if Cloud9 have any chance going into Game 3.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
It's so much more than just a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans, like Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN+, as well as Discovery+, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best. Only from Verizon.